Hey guys, Solar here, back again with another review, and today we'll be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Rebirth Batman. And before we get started here, let us first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, the Rebirth Batman does come with a collectible trading card featuring some toy photography of the very figure you see before you. And as much as I do prefer artwork from the source material on these collectible trading cards, I think we pretty much all know what this version of the Dark Knight looks like at this point. I mean, hell, I think both Mattel and DC Collectibles have made a figure of this particular costume design for Batman at this point in time, if I'm not mistaken. So you know what? It's right in my book. But there's also, of course, a bio in the back of the card that you can pause and read at your own leisure. But long story short, if you don't know who Batman is, you living under a rock, son. On top of that, though, the Rebirth Batman does also come with a Batarang. A really nice Batarang, might I add. Unlike the ones from the old Mattel days, this one does not look like a damn comb. It actually has a bat shape to it. Who'd have thought, right? And on top of that, he also comes with a grapple gun. A retracted grapple gun nonetheless. And I gotta tell you, I prefer this over the shooty bang bang ones, because the way they sculpt those, it just kind of looks like a mess. This is nice and clean, nice and streamlined, fits well into the hand. I dig it. And before we move on any further, I would like to say that this review right here is dedicated to Mr. Josh from Before, aka FromBeforeFigs. I will leave a link in the description below to his Rebirth Batman review, where he coined this as a pocket fig, which is a term I've only seen used over on his channel. So I highly suggest you go check him out. Super chill guy, really cool guy, really good videos. I enjoy watching them quite a bit. So shout out to you, sir. You definitely deserved it. And to talk about the shout outs a little bit, I'm giving them to people who are legit and cool. So you fall into that category, chances are you'll get one at some point. That said, take a closer look at good old Bats here. He does come with the standard McFarlane Toys hockey puck display stand, which if you are a subscriber to From Before Figs, he might sign your name on one of these and add them to the subscriber wall of fame. Pretty cool idea. I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon because A, it's not cool to steal other people's ideas, and B, I can't really write as well as I used to, so, But at any rate, this is a really solid Batman figure from McFarlane Toys. This is essentially the Pizza Spidey of the DC Multiverse line. I'm not going to call it the Retro Spidey because he doesn't have a lot of extra hands, but I will say Pizza Spidey. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. Really close. I think it's high time we started getting more cloth capes with these, because this big old chunky rubber one does make him a little tricky to stand. Though he wants to stand just fine for me right now. Freaking diva. But you guys know what I'm talking about. If you have a bunch of these on a shelf and you hit them just right, you're going to have an avalanche on your hands. So that's not ideal. That, and I swear something screwy is going on with the legs on mine, but maybe I'm just tripping. They look fine, but I don't know. One just seems longer than the other, but it's probably just I need to shift some things a certain way and whatnot. Because he does stand fine. I mean, he's doing it right now. As far as articulation on this guy goes, his head has a lot of range. You can look up, you can look down, you can tilt side to side, you can look side to side. That works really well. Shoulders go out to the side, back down, forward and back. He has that ball joint thing in there, but you don't get a ton of range out of it. He also has a bicep swivel that works really well. Double jointed elbows. Again, that work pretty well. Has a little bit of the Cliffs of Dover going on, but nothing too bad.
And then he also has a hinge swivel in the wrist, so he's got those ball hinges in there. And just a side note, for those of you who are into this, you can easily pop the hands off on this guy and use some of the hands from the General Zod figure, which are interchangeable. And General Zod does come with 6 interchangeable hands, so plenty of hands to choose from. Again, shout out to Josh from Before for showcasing that in his General Zod review. I mean, you might need to use both fists from General Zod, but hey, at least you got a pair that works, right? And as far as his torso goes, look at that. He's got some crunch. He's got some crunch. Kudos to you over at McFarlane Toys for giving us a figure with some crunch. Does have some rotation in there too. That works pretty well. Same with the waist. But I like to keep mine pretty much neutral. And I did have to actually put some Elmer's glue up in the torso joint to stiffen it up a bit. It was a little loosey-goosey out of package. So I did have to do that, but nothing too bad. Nothing too bad at all. His hips will kick out to the side pretty far considering how the diaper wraps around his, his special place there. Take it back down, forward and back. Got a thigh cut. Works a little bit. Double jointed knee. It's okay. Getting a little bit of the Cliffs of Dover up here. Not so much here, it's just flat. So, here's that. And then he has the ball hinge ankles, which are a little bit loose. Just a little bit. I think they could tighten these up a bit. Does have the rocker. He does have tight toe joints on both sides. I checked. And then he's got the peg holes at the bottom of the feet for the hockey puck stand, which you may or may not need to use. The choice is yours. Or your figures, I guess, more or less. But I really dig this figure. It was one of my top 10 figures of the year, but since I did the last channel update video for the month of, I want to say March, which I will have one for April going up this weekend, I gotta say, I think this guy's been dethroned already, which is kind of wild. But I got the Clayface and Joker Titan, and I am having so much fun with those figures, it's not even funny. So, yeah, see, he's a little crooked there. There we go. That's good enough, I suppose. Centering him here. Letting my OCD get the best of me as usual. Let's now move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's our Rebirth Batman, next to a couple other members of the Bat family, Robin and Nightwing. Next up, here he is alongside a couple more members of the Bat family, Batgirl and Red Hood. And is it just me, or does this Rebirth Batman seem a little bit on the short side? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And last, but certainly not least, we have our 2 regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, the Loved Spawn, who as usual, towers over to everyone. So with that being said, time to wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and even though this is not the world's most perfect Batman figure out there, I think it is by far the best, more traditional, standard version of good old Bats that we have received in the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line. If you are a fan of the DC Multiverse line from McFarlane Toys, this is by far the #1 best Batman to pick up for your collection at this current time. I don't have the year 2 one as of the recording of this video, but I'm sure this one does some things even that one didn't do quite as well. The wrist joints and ankle joints are nice and hidden on this figure. He's got a decent amount of crunch considering the reputation the McFarlane Toys figures have for lack of ab crunch, or range in the ab crunch, I should say. He's got really good articulation elsewhere. A little bit of the Cliffs of Dover going on, particularly in the elbows, not so much in the knees. And the thigh swivel is a little bit much to be desired, but at the end of the day, I still think this is by far the best standard, more traditional looking Batman we've gotten in the Multiverse line thus far. I think the only real way they could have improved this figure is a cloth cape. I don't know about you guys, but ever since I got the Soul Crusher from the Spawn Universe line, I've been leaning towards more soft goods with my action figures lately, because they're just less restrictive, and I think that's a pretty open-minded topic amongst a lot of fellow collectors that I know here on the YouTubes. A lot of people would like to see soft goods instead of these plastic capes, although to my understanding the new Marvel Legends Love and Thunder wave, some of the characters with capes in that wave, they did make them soft enough to where they will actually warp and flex and get out of the way. So maybe something like that would be a happy kind of in the middle medium for the time being, but at some point I would like to see some soft goods. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you're so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil. This world sucks enough as it is, especially when you got the Cliffs of Dover going on your elbows and knees. That's just no good. You should probably see a doctor about that. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.